today. My job ad for a replacement wood engineering teacher closed yesterday afternoon. Didn't bother checking it till this morning. Kind of glad I didn't, because I might have lost a bit of sleep over it. Nobody applied for the job. When I told the boss that today, he said same thing happened for maths. No applicants for a maths teacher position either. However, apparently somebody's popped up on the transfer list for maths. They might be getting a transfer teacher either later this year or at least next year. This TAS position, this was the third time we've advertised it, the third time in a row where there's been no applications at all, no applicants. There is a lot of TAS jobs out there. Anybody who wants a permanent job really has their pick of where they can want to apply for. Quite obviously, they don't want to apply for Western Sydney. So I know there's a couple of positions in some of the other campuses that haven't been able to get filled either. I think one of the campuses is even offering a $20,000 starting bonus, which the department has decided to offer to try and entice people to get into schools, especially hard to staff schools, and they still can't get applicants. Just a little stressful. Add on top of that, one of my teachers is taking leave next year, and he told me about it at the start of the year, so I was prepared for that. One of my other teachers is just decided to take leave and go live in Western Australia for a year and just teach casually over there. So that's two staff that I've got that are just taking leave, so they won't be permanent positions to fill. They will just be part-time positions, like casual or temp. But I still can't fill that other position that I've had since the start of the year. It's made me think, like, we're currently doing electives. Some of my elective numbers are low for both year 11 and year 9. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, I don't think I'll even press to try and have those classes run, because I'm not going to be able to staff them in the back of my mind. It's stressful. In for the other deputy today. I just got a message late last night asking if I was available to do it, and I said yes. Every bit of experience is going to help me. Longer blocks are more helpful for developing more experience, but any chance you can be in a relieving role gives you more opportunity to get a feel for it, work out the day-to-day runnings. Like, something might come up today, didn't come up while I was doing the other role. It all depends on what happens in the calendar. It's not like I didn't have a busy day today. I had year 10 this morning, but I just started working with them in the computer room last period, planning for their major project. Head teacher admin, who's one of my staff, has her year 10 class at the same time, which is this morning. She said, I'm going to have them in the computer room working on assignment. What are your kids doing? And I said, perfect, blah, 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 blah. And she said, cool, I'll take them with me. Year 11, I was going to try and get them to do more on their Evidence Central, because they're a little bit behind with me being out. Things that they could have been doing on their own when I didn't have them. Teenagers be teenagers. I have year 12 as well. A couple of the kids are doing work placement with our GA this week. Going to be doing them in sort of rosters over the next couple of weeks to get them caught up on their work placements. The prac I actually wanted to do with them was to get our safety cages set up for where the exercise equipment is, so that they can set up the little retaining wall for softball, weather permitting, because it's on and off clear, and it's already rained this morning before I left home. So if that continues, they won't do that. We'll see. Just bought a couple of 1,000-litre IBCs for school trailer. I was wondering how heavy they were. 55 kilos. The kids at school will be able to get this off as a group. We're going to use them for collecting rainwater. So one of my staff spoke to the tradies who were doing the roofing and the new guttering at work, and when he saw them over by the trade school, he asked them if they'd be able to divert the guttering into some rainwater tanks for us, and they said absolutely. The boss liked the idea. Water tank cost a lot of money, and these two totes are food grade totes for water and everything, and they're $160 each. It's all about sustainability, isn't it? harvesting your own rainwater for your little ag plot. A lot of traffic. It's good that one will fit in the back of the truck and one fits in the trailer, but now as I'm driving, I've got no idea where the trailer is. Just finished with year 11. Some still working in here, getting their toolboxes finished. The noise you can hear outside, if you can hear it, is the construction workers doing work on our school. The students who'd already done all their work in here helped out outside to get the IBC totes out of the trailer, out of my ute. They moved the trailer back into here, which was an interesting feat because it would just not fit through this side gate because of the step. Teamwork got that through, and then we used pavers and the pallets that we've got out here to build some platforms for the totes, and they got them leveled out and then put a slight slope forward for water pressure. They brought the trailer back in, which they managed to squeeze through this gap. This step was causing issues, so they lifted it up over the step as we got it through. Here's our totes on a little stack of pavers and 3 pallets each. We've got a slight slope on the hill. You can see that slight slope forward. And the taps are on this side so that we can get some water pressure. And the guys who are doing the roof plumbing said they're going to run a pipe from that corner, a down pipe across. They're going to put a post just inside our ag plot to support it, and then run it across to our tanks. And I've just got to find some form of fitting to fit those taps on the bottom. But you can see just there, I tried Bunnings and they didn't really have anything that I could use straight up. So I'll have to try one of the bigger ones, I think, or a place that does irrigation specifically. So today is multicultural day at school. Got my Irish hat on, our little shamrocks. Just had 11 construction. I only had 3 of them. I don't know whether some of the others are involved in some of the dances because a lot of them are Islander background. Water tanks. Decided to design up a solid stand made out of sleepers because I really don't know how well those pallets would go if the tanks got full, because they'd weigh a tonne each. So we're going to build a solid stand out of sleepers, something that's nice, solid, good feet all the way to the ground, good base, and that can be part of their task 4, which is about building an outdoor structure as a team. So end of the day, Tuesday, feels like a Friday. We just had our multicultural day out on the oval. I would have loved to have filmed some of that showcase, but I just have a thing about filming the kids at school for my own purpose, like for this. Vet, where I need evidence or for videos for inside the school, that's fine. But for social media, we have an official social media for our school. Pretty hopeful that they'll put up some of the things because we've got a lot of, principal said 53 different nationality backgrounds in our school. A large Pacifica population, so there was lots of dances from them, some Indian Aboriginal dance, some musical items. It was a really good day. Tomorrow we have a transition day with the one of the local primary schools. We're going to have year 5 coming up now to try out a few things in our school, meet the teachers, because you want to catch the kids in year 5 so that when they get to the start of year 6, they're thinking about what high school they want to go to. We try and show them things that they might not get a chance to do in primary school. So wood shop, big art classes, the science labs, all that sort of stuff. We only get an hour with the class and there's a bit of movement time in between those. So I'm going to do little noughts and crosses board with the class, with the students. What I do is I get pieces set ready. I'll have a whole stack of these cut, line up one here and flip their board around, and you'll notice a little notch. They mark that little notch on the end, and this will go in the drill and it gives it the right depth stop for them to be able to drill a hole in. Once they've marked that out, pick a yellow one, that sits in the middle with a yellow drill drill out all their holes. It's 3 groups, so I'm looking at somewhere between 75 and 90 students coming. So I need to get 90 of these cut out. I'm glad that I already have a whole stack of these and a whole stack of these. I've done this before with the kids. Some of the holes get a little bit eaten out. So I'll try and just keep the better ones available. And if I found that they were all chewed up, I've got spares for templates. This has been done a couple of times. I can't remember exactly when the last time was that I did it, but I know when the first time was. Anyway, I better get ready and prepare all this timber so that I can get going.
Sorry, quick question.
All of that into one long response. For this, around 5 or 10 questions there.
But that's enough. We discovered that someone was breaking into our metal workshop here at the back. They were getting in here and just prying open the lock. So I ended up putting a plate over that door and the other one down that way that opens outwards as well. Nothing was taken, thankfully. So I think it was just kids. They just got in and trashed the place. Alright, so I have finished setting up for tomorrow. This is the room that you probably haven't seen much because this is the junior room. Next door is the senior room, and the new room, which is still being set up, is the senior room. When you enter this room, we've got teacher spot up the front with a little platform. We used to have cupboards along here. Bandsaw, pedestal drill, grinder for sharpening tools, disc sander, and a lathe that hasn't been used in the whole time I've been here, which is almost 20 years. This is the junior room. They do hand tool work and using basic machinery. The bandsaw is for teacher use only. That's just a rule here. But the way that this will work out with the kids tomorrow, they come in and they'll get a piece of timber for their board. They can then either go to this table here or this table here, because they're the two setups. And if they came over here, they'd grab a board, line it up at the top, stick it down in the vise and tighten it up. Grab the drill that has the stop on it, drill each of the holes, then pass the drill to the person who's over there setting up. While that person's drilling over there, student at this end flips their template around, back in the vise, ready to drill. I've got the pencils here. If they sit this here and put a little mark just there, which means that if they come over to this table, they have somewhere to line up the top of their board so that it's centered. Pop it in the vise, they'd have to drill maybe 6 of them, then they pass it over, flip it over, and do the last 3 holes. If they started this one, first thing they need to do is line this up at the top, put that little mark, and then move it down. I've also got little notches here, so they can put little marks there if they want to do the cross hash pattern on their board. When you look at my one, I do have the board marked out so they can colour in the squares if they wanted to, and they colour their pieces separately. The one that's set for the end pieces has an 8mm drill because they're 8mm dowels. That means the home holes are firm. The game board are 8.5mm. It's easy to put them in to the middle of the game board. When they've got them in the ends, they shouldn't fall out. Once they've done the 2 boards, or even while they're waiting, I've got some 80 grit and some 120 grit, so they can hand sand their projects because they've just been rough cut by me on the table saw and the drop saw. Then either come to this one where I've got textures or markers. This one where I've got pencils and colour pencils, and they can colour in their board. I've also got some old games boards if they wanted to use them to mark out all the little edges if they'd forgotten to do so before. So as you can see, it's really like a little, almost like a production line, but they don't have to go from one spot all the way through. They can start there if they want, they can start there if they want, they can start with the sanding if they want. And then they'd have to go back if they make a bit of a mess with the drill. The colouring is the last part. It's something that is expected to take the longest, I guess. And each of the groups are here for an hour at most. There's probably, once they get here, 45 to 50 minutes because of the pack-up time and moving to wherever the other group is going to be, where they're going. I'm not sure what the other 2 areas are that they're doing. Got all my boards ready. As you can see, I've got 2 drills on each table. I've got a spare drill just in case. I've got spare batteries that are all charged up, and I've got another 4 down in the construction space charging up, and I'll grab them in the morning. So I should have plenty of battery power for here for the 3 hours of classes that I'll have doing this in here. This is all done. I'm going to lock up and go home. See you tomorrow. Murphy's Law always comes into play. I wanted to try and be at school a bit earlier today so that I can grab some more safety glasses to have in the workshop for the primary school kids and get the dowels into some little boxes for the playing pieces. I can see flashing lights up ahead, but they look like they're on the other side. And if this is the case that we're crawling because everybody's trying to have a sticky beak on the other side of the freeway, but this must be on this side because they have reduced the speed of the freeway with the electronic signs, and we're doing half that at most. It was a case of rubbernecking. It wasn't even an accident. It was like a traffic control, a tow truck, and a guy with a ute. But there was no accident around, so it might have been there from earlier, but I don't think it warranted us driving at 40 or under for as long as we did, that's for sure. As soon as we got past that, it just picked up to 110. Won't get to work as early as I hope, but I'll still get there before the bells. Had to leave a bit earlier this morning because yesterday afternoon I was doing some work on the electives and inputting some kids' electives from year 10 who had missed the cutoff. The year advisor went and found out what they wanted, gave me them. I've manually entered them. I was sitting there looking through the electives to see what was likely to run before taking it to the boss. Tas hasn't fared so well this year so far. I've got a good and a bad feeling about that. The good feeling is if I've got less electives in year 11 and year 9, I won't have to ask somebody outside of faculty to teach, but it means I'll also be able to hopefully cover the classes a bit easier. I still haven't had anybody apply for the permanent position that I've got, and I've got 2 staff who are taking leave next year. One's taking leave without pay and going to Western Australia for a year to try living and teaching over there. One of the other staff members has done a thing that they do with a department where you can do 4 on 1 off, where you work for 4 years at 80% pay. The other 20% from those 4 years adds up to an 80% pay for the 5th year. So you can be off work for a year, living on the same pay you have for the last 4 years. Do a bit of travel and that sort of stuff. Good for them, rough for me. So I've got to hopefully see if I can find some people who want a temp position. So I'm going to need 2 temp positions and a permanent position, or 2 temp positions if I don't have the subjects to warrant the extra staff member. So I was sitting there pondering that, rather sadly. Calendar reminder or notification popped up on my computer saying HSC markers 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I freaked out. I grabbed the paperwork that I had for their stuff. I had to go and put the folios with the job. I had to stick little tags on the jobs that had the student number on it. That was at 5:30. I needed to run and do that before the cleaners wanted to lock up. I'm glad I did do that, because when I ran over to the room, all the gates were closed on the room. There was no padlock on it, and the door was ajar. Did what I needed to do, lock the door and lock the gates and put the padlock on it. The padlock was in the room. I usually get to work between 8:15 and 8:30. Well, I've got to get up and leave earlier to be there before 8, because the markers will be there for 8. And I'm going to safely assume the elective numbers for year 10 into 11 are pretty close to what we're going to really have. There's a lot of students who might be at alternative settings or are pretty poor attenders. Construction looks very strong for next year, and hospo looks very strong, with a possibility of 2 classes, which will be tough with one of my hospo teachers being one of the ones going on leave. Year 9, not looking strong for TAS. We've got brand new computing subjects, like new syllabuses that are starting for next year. So a brand new computing course running for year 9 and a brand new course running for year 11. They're not looking very strong. Timber in year 11, not looking strong at all. Engineering, very good. Year 8 going into year 9, we surprised ourselves getting both a timber and a metal class in year 9 this year, and next year it looks like there's not going to be either. With the current staffing crisis, and it is a crisis, the boss has said to all the executive and everybody else who joined the leadership meeting, I can't in all conscience offer a whole stack of subjects that you'd like to offer if your faculty cannot staff them. We're going to have to cut something because I can't offer everything. Just finished up with year 11 construction and doing the individual testing or questioning, observation of them, doing some measurements and calculations and conversions and all those sort of things. It's kind of fun when you're sitting there and they go, I don't know how to do area, or I don't know how to work out perimeter, or I can't do volume. And then you just explain it to them, work it through them in a real life situation, which is what they're doing in here. And then they go, oh, I get it. And they get the answer right. And you congratulate them and they feel really good about themselves. Makes you feel good too. Timetable planning meeting. Going to give them an update on how the timetable things are going with the numbers for electives and that sort of stuff, and had a meeting with the boss today. I'll talk about that later. We'll go from there. It's Friday. The markers came yesterday. They got there just after I did, or I got there just before they arrived. One of them said, "Today it's been a long time," and I was thinking like he'd marked at our school before, and we're walking up across the quad, and I turned and looked at him again and I went, I just picked where the face was from. We went to uni together back in a long time ago. We had a chat, heard where he'd gone to after his first school. He's now in a school that's actually in the mountains. Good to just have a little bit of a catch up. I told the kids, your projects have been marked. You're now free to take them home. I went and had a chat with the boss about raw numbers on electives, spoke with the other exec about there were some changes they wanted to make to bells again for next year. I then showed some of that information to the newly formed timetable team to show them this is where we get up to, this is the next step. What sort of happens from here? There was a little bit of, oh, that subject's not going to run, that's sad. And I had to say to them, look, I've got subjects that by all accounts shouldn't run, and I'm not going to push for them to run. If the students haven't picked them, I can't force it. That's where that sits. Today at school we're at Purple Day, so pulled out a purple tie, did the purple nails. Support for the LGBTQIA plus staff or students, and there are a few. They have allies. They shouldn't be being bullied, harassed, discriminated against, anything like that. Nobody should be getting bullied, discriminated against, harassed. Another group got their door put together and rebaited out for the panel to go in there. This group is at work placement at the moment, but the other group actually got their door hung and swings beautifully. That's actually that part of the task done. They've just got to do the theory or the quizzes that are online now. And I think some kids are finding that part tough because they've got to do it all themselves, but I think the bonus is it tells them if they got something wrong and they can reattempt it until they get the 100%. So it's a really good system in that sense. Even kids who would struggle in class can seem to manage that stuff because they're having a go and it's giving them back up to try again. So I like it.